experiencing minor difficulties. The words came through an underwater telephone from a nuclear submarine descending beneath the Atlantic. The message was incomplete. Parts of it were distorted by distance, water, and the limits of the equipment carrying it. But the men aboard the rescue ship USS Skylark understood several phrases. Have positive up angle. Attempting to blow. Then came a promise. We'll keep you informed. A few minutes later, another transmission arrived. It was even harder to understand. One number could be heard. 900. After that, USS Thresher never spoke again. On the morning of April 10th, 1963, Thresher was about 220 miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It was not on a combat mission. It was conducting deep diving trials after an overhaul at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. USS Skylark waited above as the submarine surface support and rescue ship. The arrangement was deliberate. Thresher would descend slowly. At regular depth intervals, it would stop, check its systems, and report its condition through an underwater communication device known as Gertrude. Skylark would remain close enough to receive those reports and respond if something went wrong. The submarine carried 129 people. There were 112 Navy officers and enlisted sailors, along with 17 civilian technicians from the shipyard. Many of those civilians were aboard because the trial was not routine patrol work. Thresher had recently undergone maintenance, and the dive was intended to confirm that the submarine and its systems could safely return to full operation. Thresher was the first vessel of a new class of nuclear-powered attack submarines. It had been commissioned in August 1961. It was fast, quiet, and equipped with advanced sonar and weapon systems. Its design represented the direction in which the United States Navy expected submarine warfare to move. But on this morning, its most important task was simpler. Descend, check every system, then return to the surface. The previous day, Thresher had sailed from Kittery, Maine, and met Skylark in the test area. It completed preliminary trials and remained submerged overnight. At about 6:30 the next morning, communication with Skylark was re-established. The deep dive test began. Thresher descended in a slow circular path beneath the rescue ship. At each planned interval, the crew checked the submarine for leaks and other problems. The reports continued. At 400 feet, no leaks were reported. The descent resumed. Thresher passed half of its test depth, then it went deeper. By 8:25, the submarine had reached approximately 1,000 feet. Everything Skylark could hear suggested that the test remained under control. But underwater communication was never clear. Voices transmitted through water could arrive broken, muffled, or incomplete. As Thresher approached greater depth, the quality of the signal began to deteriorate. That made the next exchange difficult to interpret. At 9:12, Skylark called Thresher for an underwater telephone check. There was no immediate answer. The call was repeated. At 9:13, a transmission finally came back. According to testimony preserved in the Navy's Court of Inquiry records, the message was understood as, experiencing minor difficulties. Have positive up angle. Attempting to blow. Will keep you informed. The phrase, positive up angle, indicated that the submarine's bow was pointed upward. Attempting to blow referred to forcing high-pressure air into the main ballast tanks, pushing water out so the submarine could become more buoyant and rise. Those words told Skylark that Thresher had a problem and was trying to recover, but they did not explain the problem. Minor difficulties could describe a condition the crew believed it could control. It could also have been the clearest fragment Skylark managed to recover from a longer message. The receiver could hear urgency without being able to see what was happening below. Skylark acknowledged the transmission. It informed Thresher that there were no nearby vessels that would block an emergency surfacing. Then, Skylark asked for the submarine's range and bearing. No clear answer arrived. A direct question followed. "Are you in control?" At approximately 9:16, Skylark received another garbled transmission. The ship's records preserved a fragment containing the number 900. Its meaning remains uncertain. It may have referred to depth. It may have been part of a procedural message. It may not have been understood correctly at all. Later accounts sometimes present 900 as though it were a complete final statement. It was not. It was a fragment heard through a failing connection during an emergency whose exact sequence could not be observed from the surface. Another broken transmission may have contained words related to test depth. Then the communication stopped. Skylark continued calling. The rescue ship requested a radio check. It asked for any indication of Thresher's condition. No response came back. At first, silence did not prove that the submarine had been lost. The underwater telephone could fail. The signal could be blocked by layers of water with different temperatures. Thresher might have been moving away from the best communication position. The submarine might have been occupied with the emergency and unable to answer immediately. Skylark kept transmitting. Minutes passed. The expected appearance of Thresher on the surface did not come. The rescue ship began search procedures. It released signals intended to help the submarine locate it and continued calling through the underwater telephone. At 11:04, Skylark attempted to report that communication with Thresher had been lost. Radio problems delayed that message from reaching the commander of the Atlantic Submarine Force. At 11:21, Skylark began formal procedures for a missing submarine. The calls continued for hours. Other ships and aircraft moved toward the area. By then, there was still no confirmed message from below. Later, analysis of underwater acoustic records established that Thresher had been lost soon after the final transmissions. The wreck came to rest in approximately 8,400 feet of water. All 129 people aboard died. The search for the submarine became a major naval operation. Surface vessels examined the area. Aircraft searched from above. Sonar teams looked for evidence on the seabed. Deep-towed cameras eventually photographed pieces of the submarine scattered across the ocean floor. The bathyscaphe Trieste later descended into the area, helping investigators examine and recover material from the wreck. But there was no surviving recorder from inside Thresher that could provide a complete account of the final minutes. The Navy convened a formal court of inquiry. It examined the ship's construction, maintenance, piping systems, electrical equipment, ballast system, reactor procedures, test preparations, and the communications received by Skylark. The court could not establish the cause with absolute certainty. Its findings supported a probable sequence in which seawater entered through a failed piping connection. Electrical systems were affected, the reactor shut down, and the submarine lost propulsion, while its efforts to blow the ballast tanks did not restore enough buoyancy. Later specialists have proposed other sequences, including electrical failure, without major flooding before the loss of propulsion. The Navy has continued to state that the exact cause cannot be conclusively determined from the available evidence. That uncertainty is part of the archive. It means the last communication cannot be treated as a perfect transcript of events aboard the submarine. The words, minor difficulties do not prove the emergency was minor. The number 900 does not provide a complete final position, and the fragments heard by Skylark do not tell us exactly which systems had failed. They tell us only what reached the surface. A submarine had developed a problem near its test depth. Its crew had raised the bow. They were attempting to use the ballast system to rise. They intended to send another report. That report never came. The loss of Thresher changed the United States submarine force. Within months, the Navy established the Submarine Safety Program, known as SUBSAFE. Its purpose was to provide maximum reasonable assurance that submarine hulls and seawater systems would remain watertight, and that a submarine could recover from unexpected flooding. SUBSAFE introduced stricter control over design, materials, construction, maintenance, testing, certification, and documentation. Parts affecting watertight integrity had to be traced and verified. Work had to be recorded. Safety requirements had to be satisfied before a submarine could be certified. The program did not erase the loss. It turned the evidence left behind into a permanent system of accountability. Today, the USS Thresher record survives in thousands of pages of testimony, technical findings, communication logs, search reports, photographs, and declassified Court of Inquiry documents. It also survives in the annual remembrance of the 129 people who remain on what the Navy calls eternal patrol. Among all those records, the final exchange remains painfully brief. Experiencing minor difficulties. Have positive up angle. Attempting to blow. We'll keep you informed. Skylark waited for that next report. The underwater telephone remained open. And below the rescue ship, the Atlantic gave no answer.